Good afternoon. My name is Chair Ross Ritter, and today is Tuesday, November 18th, and I call the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. To begin with, Mr. Fisher, would you please give us a roll call?
Yes, let the record show all commissioners are currently present.
Thank you. And for all those that are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And if any of the people needed to put in speaker slips, did everybody get their slips in? Okay, great. Just as a courtesy, if you would please silence your phone so that they don't go off as a reminder. And let's move on. Our first thing on item 4 is a special presentation from Exposure Skate event. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. I went to the event on November 1st, and it was quite impressive.
Thank you for taking the time out to come. And thank you to everybody who came in support of Exposure today. And my name is Amelia. I'm an Olympian, and I've been running Exposure for 14 years. And for 12 of those years, we've been based right here in Encinitas. And we not only run the world's largest women's skateboarding event, but we've brought youth programming, adult programming, and college scholarships. And our youth programming also teaches compassion through service, and unfortunately, we've had to leave Encinitas. So it was a combination of, it was a beautiful situation in which we had all these pros and Olympians coming to volunteer their time to teach girls how to skate, and also we had a different community service aspect with each event. Unfortunately, we had to leave Encinitas for the same reason that we're considering, for the same reason that we're asking for support, just increased fees. If we could go to the next slide. So this is just based on this year's event. These statistics, we had 200 competitors from 22 different countries, and a lot of these women, they've become Olympians, and it was thanks to events like ours that actually created a space for women in skateboarding. And like I said, this only reflects this year, but we've had over 650 unique competitors to date. And this was a completely free event, family friendly. There was a vendor village, free learn to skate clinics, games, and as you can see, this beautiful image of Encinitas that was shown on a live stream to 2 million subscribers across the globe. So, I mean, these marketing statistics speak for themselves in terms of the reach on social media and the views on the live stream. Let's go to the next slide. And so, in running these numbers, they're actually a lot more impactful than years prior. Years prior, we've had maybe half of this economic impact, but as we've grown, so many more girls and women have come out to this event. It's become really imperative to the future of their careers. And because of that, they come here and they stay here. Girls have come here from Argentina, from Taiwan, and they stay here for 2 months. And I was surprised by that. I thought maybe 2 weeks at most, but in speaking to a lot of these girls, in just collecting data from our participants, they're staying here more and more. And, you know, a lot of the local businesses are seeing that impact as well, and we'll hear from some of them today. But as you can see by the data, that's almost 10,000 visitor days in Encinitas. And that's not even counting like the attendees that come to watch the event on the Friday through Sunday. So, these numbers are based mostly on the competitors, on the vendors, on the volunteers. There's actually volunteers that have been so impacted by this event that they'll travel out here from New York, from Maine, from Pennsylvania, all to just support our mission and vision. Because not only is this a competition that's significant to these girls, but they've created this global community where they all come together for the love of what they do. And they've gotten to create mentorship-like relationships with Olympic gold medalists who came out this year, Arissa True. And not only is it pro level, Olympic level, but it's some of these girls' first big event because we also offer intermediate and advanced divisions. So these young girls, they get to meet their heroes. They get to skate with them for the first time. And that is the only event of its kind. No other event does that. And has become synonymous with Encinitas because it's been our home since 2014. Next slide. So as you can see, we've gotten the attention of a lot of really impactful media outlets. And once again, it's like the actual rise of women's skateboarding, the inclusion of skateboarding in the Olympics, all that has become synonymous with Encinitas because this is where we built this. Next slide. So, unfortunately, it's become more and more expensive to run this event. And just the permit fees alone have increased. There's new fees associated with hourly rates, and even just submitting the paperwork, the fees have grown immensely. But then everything that's required in the permit, like the traffic control, the ambulance services, and the security, which we've had to increase over the years as there's been some local transient folk who've started issues, never issues with our actual community, but all of these things have added immense costs to running the event. And we've always just covered that. Not only are we a nonprofit, but we've been able to get support in terms of donations and sponsorships. And then unfortunately this year, grants in general are down. I know that you've experienced that in terms of all the nonprofits you support, and we're so grateful to be recipients of the grant program. But that has dropped in terms of what we get as well. But in 2015 to 2018, the first 3 years we were at ECP, we had an MOU. We shared some of these costs, and we'd love to revisit that conversation. Next slide. So what we need to stay here in this home we've built, in this place where we've cultivated this global community, where we've inspired these young girls who, not only are they getting to express themselves, and not only are they also participating and being a benefit event for the Community Resource Center, but they're meeting their heroes, they're reaching their dreams. But what we need in order to stay is we need support with some of these costs. All the things that are starred, they were actually included in our MOU with Encinitas 2015 to 2018. EMT services alone are near $5,000. And Encinitas used to provide that. And we would love to see if there's a way that we can share these costs, that we can talk about how much benefit Encinitas has received from this, more so than any of our sponsors and partners. The real beneficiary here is Encinitas. And ever since we've realized the challenges that we have here, we've actually learned from other cities that they want us to come there. They're offering us this kind of support. They're offering us financial support because they understand that it's an investment in something that's going to bring positive tourism and marketing and just bring the community together for something really good and something really powerful. Next slide. And in terms of community, it's much more than tourism and skateboarding. We've been donating to the Community Resource Center ever since 2014. We believe that it's really powerful to also spread awareness of the issues surrounding domestic violence. We've actually had individuals come forward at some of our events, realizing that they needed help and realizing that the CRC is something that could change their lives, that can help support them. So that awareness alone has saved lives. And not only have we donated directly, but our programs director, Jess Robledo, goes to speak at the CRC. She herself is a survivor, and she's helped the CRC raise tons of money through her speeches. And in addition to that, I mean, we've had 9 years of our youth programming here before we had to remove it, of teaching compassion through service. These girls, they're not only skateboarding, they're learning, wow, we can help others in need. We've had programs in which if they want to learn to skate from these pros, first, we teach them about the fact that some people are unhoused. You know, these are girls ages 4 to 12. And then we show them, look, you can make a support kit. You can help others. You can donate a hygiene kit. You can help those in need. And we've seen that impact in these girls because we've now known them for 14 years. I mean, Bryce Wetstein, who lives down the street from here, she was a competitor with us at age 7. Now she's 22, and she's been a part of the youth program as well. And if you know anything about Bryce, she's a very generous and giving soul. And not to take credit for that, but saying that we've seen that these girls that participate in the program, we've seen a trend that they love to give back. A lot of them, they come back and they volunteer to teach others. And you'll hear from Joey Yarborough, who's also one of those individuals, not just a talented skateboarder, but sees the value in giving back. And through these additional Skate Rising, which is our youth program, we've collected food items, we've collected hygiene products, we've collected back-to-school kits, and you know, we just keep finding ways to give back to the community and teach the girls of Encinitas how to give back to their communities as well. Next slide. So, looking ahead, we'd like to propose a real partnership with Encinitas, one that is mutually beneficial, in which we can share some of these costs, in which we can make the callback to Encinitas much more clear in all of our branding, officially Exposure Encinitas. And we can talk about other things that the city would like to see as a part of the event. We can create space for local artists. We had some vendors performing live art at our last event. You know, we already have local businesses and vendors featured at the event, but we can add elements of highlighting the international culture that is here during the event. And most of all, we can just continue to cultivate engaged, inspired, and compassionate citizens through our event and all the programming that we bring. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. We certainly enjoyed hearing it. I'd like to open it up to the commission for any questions that they may have.
I do have a little question slide if you want to click to the next one.
Thank you, Amelia. Yeah, and I did go to the event also on the Saturday, and it was amazing to see a little 9-year-old girl going down the bowl, and she was better than a lot of the other ones out there, and just very family-friendly and a very nice vibe. You mentioned your Compassion Through Service program, that you've had to leave Encinitas with that. And you and we had talked earlier, is that related to the skate clinics that you were running And can you give a little bit of background on what were some of the reasons that you decided to leave to go somewhere else with that program?
Sure. So the youth program is the one that teaches empowerment through skateboarding and compassion through service for girls age 4 to 16. And essentially, we had over 100 girls at some of these events, and a lot of them would be local, stepping on a skateboard for the first time, getting to do that alongside pros and Olympians, and then having the element of giving back to the community with a different give back program at each and every event. And the reason why we had to leave is because these fees kept increasing, like the hourly fee. That one really hit us hard because sometimes like we would be rained out and we had already like paid those hourly fees, and that was a new level to the permit. And the challenging thing about the hourly fees is even though we're paying for the space per hour, we try hard not to impact the local skaters. As a skater myself, I understand not wanting to have a park that's crowded, but we're paying for the park, and it's still like we have to dodge some of the locals who maybe weren't too thrilled about 100 little girls being there riding skateboards for the first time. Additionally, we had some of the transient folk using the space right where we would set up our tent and have our crafts, but they'd be like a grilling at 9 in the morning when we're setting up, and it was just kind of we don't want to displace anyone, but it would kind of create some issues as we're bringing these girls and these families in. So it was kind of like we had to fight for a space that we're paying for, that we reserved, that we're just trying to do something good and positive and free for the community. And so those factors made us go elsewhere.
Okay, so the program for the girls that participate, that was all free for them?
Yes, always been free. We started that program in 2016 here in Encinitas at the Encinitas Community Park. And last year is when we moved. We've since had the program at the Claremont YMCA and at the training facility in Vista. So have explored some other parks that actually allow us to use the space exclusively for that. Because as first-time skaters, as much as we try to tell people to be aware of traffic, their boards might be rolling across the park. Maybe they can't run fast enough with their little feet to go catch them. So it's a safety issue as well for both the locals and the young girls. But predominantly, these were girls local to Encinitas. So we were introducing them to a new sport that they can participate in here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners?
The MOU that you previously held with the city, what did it cover and why was it stopped, or what were you told the reason?
Sure. I should have really written this down. But I know it covered security. It covered the ambulance, which actually those two are our biggest fees. There was support with traffic control. Maybe if we could back up to that slide, I highlighted some of the things. Trash and litter pickup. Portable restrooms, that was a shared cost. We used to do like a site walkthrough where we would identify where additional support is needed. And resident and business notification for, this at this time it'll be impacted. We'll put no parking signs on your street, things like that. And then the permit fees, and the permit fees have really, really grown. It's just to file the paperwork, it's like $3,000. And that all used to be covered, but with the MOU. But now there's also the added fee of the hourly rate. So, yeah, all of those used to be covered.
And I'm sorry, what were you told the reasoning for the MOU to be stopped?
Let me think. We were working with Crystal at the time, and she mentioned that there wasn't bandwidth to participate in that way. So ever since after the 2018 event, is when we stopped.
Thank you. Do you have the opportunity to ask the city clarifying questions, or should we hold or ask at this time?
Manager Norgard, what's the procedure on that during special presentations? Can the commission address staff for clarification on questions? Or is that something we should wait until the work plan item?
You can ask me questions. If it's about the MOU or anything like that, I'll have to get information from other staff and bring it back.
How much larger would you say your event is now compared to where you were in 2018, for instance, when you did have an MOU? Because you obviously have grown considerably. And with growth also means increased expenses and additional needs that you didn't have in 2016, 17, 18, et cetera. So I was just kind of curious as to kind of put a feel for what that's like.
Well, that's a very good question. It's certainly grown a lot. I mean, even during those years, those early years, especially 2018, we were already being looked at by the International Olympic Committee that we showed. We basically showed to them that skateboarding can provide parity in the Olympics. So we already had international representation, but we still had fewer than, I would say, maximum 80 athletes at that time. I would say our vendor village was actually bigger in 2018. We had a lot more local booths coming to set up. So in terms of the vendor village, it was bigger. Participants, it was smaller. And media, like, women's skateboarding wasn't on the radar very much quite yet. So I would say there was less of a media draw, which meant fewer attendees. So it's certainly grown.
And then as that growth comes along, there's also hopefully additional exposure to where you could also get additional funding from things like, additional booths, for instance, which I know having a booth is not a major income when you're talking about some of the expenses that you're having to cover. But have you been exploring, I'm confident you have, but what things are you exploring with regards to bringing more income to the event to help you cover some of the fees, in addition to perhaps partnering with the city to provide some assistance as well?
Fundraising has been a nonstop endeavor. And we start in January with a sponsor deck. We go to a lot of different partners. We apply for a ton of different grants, international grants, county grants, private grants. We get support from a lot of different donors, family foundations. We leave no stone unturned, I promise you. And yes, it has, as we've grown, it has created more opportunities for funding, but the costs keep growing as well. And then, economically, the same things we paid for in 2018 are so much more expensive now. I mean, if you go back one slide, like just the amount that everything has increased in terms of price, not even just because of our growth, but because of the economy. So
Sure.
We're trying our best. We don't want to leave. We love it here, and it's our home. But we're just being honest. We just really need support. I mean, the skateboarding industry has suffered a pretty large blow this year in terms of the tariffs impacting everything. And so our sponsors can't support us as much as they used to, even though things are growing and it's more of a marketing impact for them. And so many of the grants we used to get, they were DEI affiliated because we're for women and girls. A lot of those got canceled this year.
Yeah, that is a very challenging environment to try to work in. I can certainly appreciate that. Any other questions or comments?
I had one question. With the growth in athletes and the number of attendees, when I came, I was guessing, I'm not good at estimating, but maybe 300 people around at a time. Curious about the footprint of the event at the park. Has that changed substantially over the years?
The footprint hasn't really changed. Honestly, 2018 was our biggest vendor village, and I don't think we've reached that since. I want to say it was about 65 booths or something in terms of vendors. This year, we probably had like 48 vendors. Last year was even less. So the actual footprint of the park hasn't changed. The amount of days that we need to use the park has changed because of the setup of our ramp. But I would say that in terms of that sort of impact, that's the only difference.
Okay, so for those of you that didn't attend, it's over by the skate park and extends out into the grass, but like the other fields are all still open and the playgrounds are all very accessible. So you haven't, as you've grown in size in terms of participants and attendees, you haven't grown much, you haven't really grown in size of footprint that you're putting on the park with the event.
No, and even the same with our parking. We use the same ancillary parking lot. We still use the same traffic control plan. So in terms of like taking up more space, that hasn't happened.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Just in summary, you came to the right place to start. We're a citizen advisory board that basically the city council has appointed. So this is a good place to start. The next place that I recommend you make your case is actually at city council, particularly in the early part of next year when they're into the budget process, because you need to get your story out to them in January, February, so that in April that they can consider your request when they're figuring out what their budget's going to be for the next fiscal year. So as a next step, that would be what I would recommend you consider doing. But I think it's very important that you and your supporters are here tonight to start the process. And as a commission, we can certainly discuss it among ourselves and make a recommendation to City Council as well. So they would consider that in addition to your own presentation that you would make to them. So good luck to you. We certainly love having you in Encinitas. So I think we would hate to see you have to leave, and we'll cross our fingers that we can find some solution that works well for everybody.
Well, thank you, and thank you each for all your time and all you do for the city. I appreciate it.
I understand that we have a number of, thank you. I understand we have a number of speakers. How many do we have, Mr. Fisher?
We have 12 slips about 4A.
Okay. We're already about 26 minutes into the meeting. What I'd like to do is limit the speakers to 2 minutes apiece. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to say something and that we hear from all of you that have applied. But we do have kind of a time constraint that we have to keep the meeting moving on, and we have to end at 7:30. So, Mr. Fisher, may we have the first speaker?
First speaker is Donette Corona.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Donette. I have worked for the Honeys and Swami's Restaurant Group for 18 years. I would like to emphasize the importance and the magnitude of benefits the exposure skate events provide for our community here in Encinitas. Simply put, we cannot afford to lose them. Statistically, the restaurant industry slows down between September and late November, which means fewer shorter shifts for our employees. As a small family-owned business, we faithfully depend on the exposure event every year to help get us through this slow season. About 3 weeks before the event, as athletes and their families come to town to start training, over the years, I have consistently witnessed a steady increase in downtown Encinitas and wholeheartedly in our business. As for the weekend of the event, we see a huge influx in business with exposure attendees growing and hosting 200 athletes from 21 different countries. Honeys is consistently booming at capacity. Again, this time of year we suffer significantly, especially with the street fairs. The street fairs block off all of our streets. Nobody has access to our restaurants. People choose to eat at the vendors and not our local businesses. Okay, so we depend on exposure, specifically in November, to help get us through these slow months. Not only is exposure valuable to our small business, but beneficial to the community with tourism. This year specifically, many visitors shared that they decided to extend their stay once the event was over. If it wasn't for exposure bringing them out here, they would have never even discovered Encinitas. Lastly, as a resident, I am so proud to live in a city who allows such an incredible event. We need the support of exposure. We need to support exposure and their mission with empowering women, raising awareness for domestic violence, and I'm in awe of their caring, their constant caring and inspired commitment to bettering our community. Proud of the work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ulysses Contras.
Good evening. My name is Ulysses Contreras. I'm Director of Operations for both Swami's Cafe and Honey's Bistro. And I'll keep this quick. I just wanted to give you guys my firsthand account of the event. It was my actual first time being there. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter. We put them both in competitive dance, and I really wish I would have turned them into skaters instead, because I spent thousands of dollars on costumes, and we could have saved so much money on just buying some skateboards and a helmet. But it was an awesome event. I took my 11-year-old, and she was blown away by these girls on the vert ramp and on the bowl. I mean, they're getting air. Tony Hawk's staying at the top. He's looking at all these girls like as they get air, and like it was just an amazing, beautiful event. Especially because it's mainly focused, concentrated on these young, inspiring women. It goes to the CRC helps to kind of. It goes towards like domestic violence prevention as well. I mean, my daughter was going around to vendors. She's going to Sunbum, getting some free sunscreen. She's going to Vans, painting her nails. Like she said, she's seeing these girls. And the athletes too. I mean, we met girls from Venezuela, Colombia, Japan, 10-year-old girls, 9-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls. And we're offering them free acai bowls just because they're an athlete, and they get all excited. It's like handing these girls candy. So, and again, just going off of Donette's point, street fairs, I mean, they're awesome too. I've been going to them since 2007 here in Encinitas, but they take away from business. We usually have to cut staff. Like this upcoming Sunday, we'll probably have to cut staff just because local people can't get to our business, or they'd rather, go and support these out-of-town vendors. Whereas exposure, brings a lot more people into the community. We saw our sales week over week increase over 40% at both Honey's and Swami's from exposure. So, I mean, it's just a great event, and we hope you guys continue to support them.
Next speaker is Alec Beck.
Good evening, Commissioners and Parks Department. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. A little bit of quick background on myself. I'm a skate park advocate. I work for the Skate Park Project, formerly known as the Tony Hawk Foundation. I have been obsessed with skate parks and skateboarding for my entire life, and you have an absolutely world-class skate park in this community. And I think Canton is in here. There he is. He's partially responsible for this, along with your Parks Department. I will also say that the exposure event, I've been skating competitively for 20 years. There's nothing like this event on the planet, hands down. I know you're going to hear from a lot of people today that say that, but it is absolutely true. There's nothing like it on the planet. It is absolutely revolutionary in multiple ways. Now, you have a world-class skate park. You have a couple of other world-class parks in this community. Encinitas is very special. This is not the only community that has a world-class skate park, right? There are many other world-class skate parks in Southern California and across the country. This is not the only space that this can happen. I think it should remain here. This is why we're all here, right? This is why everybody came out, and thank you for volunteering your time. I work with commissioners and parks departments all day long. That's part of my day job, and it's a lot of fun. It's also exhausting, so I appreciate you spending your time to be here. This is all just to say that there are other communities that would really do a lot to get this in their community. It's not worth letting this slip away, and I think as much as you can do as stewards of your community to ensure this type of positive impact and financial impact that you get from this community event, this global community event, I highly suggest you do whatever you can to make sure it stays. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Joey Yarbrough.
Hi, my name is Joey Yarbrough, and I've been doing exposure since I was 18 months old. I did the first skate rising when I was 18 months old, and I was doing skate rising ever since and was getting taught by Bryce. And I did competed in my first exposure when I was 5 years old in 2018. And I've been competing ever since, and I really like the event. Thank you.
Next speaker is Danny Yarbrough.
Hi, my name's Dan Yarbrough. I live in Vista now, but I was previously a 40-year resident of Encinitas before I bought property out in Vista. I'm an architect, a local architect, and that was my daughter Joey. She started young. She was raised through the skate rising program, and she is a direct beneficiary of that program. And without skate rising, I don't believe she would be where she is now. She's currently, part of Team USA development squad, looking at LA 2028. She skated her first pro event last year and did very well. Qualified second, finished fourth at 11 years old. So a lot of that can be attributed to Amelia and her skate rising program. And if there's some way to try and bring that back, I recommend it. But a little history on Encinitas. I don't know. I know you guys realize that this is a world-class historic surf town, but what you may not realize is it's also the birthplace of modern skateboarding. Cadillac Wheels and Bain Skateboards was created just up the hill off of Westlake, and Cadillac Wheels were the first urethane wheels to come out. Before that, it was steel and clay wheels, and it revolutionized skateboarding. Tracker trucks, Bain Skateboards, Loganursky, it's all part of Encinitas' history. So not only is it a surf town, it's a world-class skate town, and surfing and skating, came up hand in hand. I've been skating since I was Joey's age myself, and I'm still skating. And this is one event that I think you really need to keep here. It's very unique, and it's very empowering for the girls. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jordan Barrett.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Barrett. I'm a pro skateboarder and a U.S. Olympian. I'm 26 years old, and I've been skating at Exposure since I was 13. I grew up in Hawaii, and I started skating when I was about 11. I came out to California a couple times for contests like Combi and Exposure, but I ultimately ended up making the big move across the ocean with my mom when I started high school and was extremely lucky to end up in Encinitas. One of the main reasons why we chose Encinitas was because we knew so many pro skaters lived here and at that time skated places like the Y. Exposure was and still is a huge part of my career. In the earlier years of Exposure, I was skating as a young amateur, and it helped carve out a path to not only see other women skating and to be inspired by them, but it's a chance for me to meet different skateboarders from around the world, and it helps start a path for more women to actually have a career in skateboarding. If it wasn't for Exposure, I don't think women's skateboarding would be where it's at today. As I got older, I grew with Exposure. I watched every single year as more and more girls came. This contest has helped create opportunities for women to gain confidence and to gain contest experience, which ultimately helped lead me to the Olympics. This year at Exposure, there was a record number of girls from 22 different countries. They're all traveling right here to Encinitas because of Exposure. All week long, leading up to Exposure, events are being held all throughout the city. For example, team dinners, after parties, movies at La Paloma. This year they had a podcast. In past years, they've had video premieres and different speaker panels. It's the only time that I know where pretty much all of women's skateboarding comes to one place. Not only do these girls come to Encinitas for the week of the contest, but they also come throughout the year to skate and train. I was just skating with 2 girls, one from Austria and another one from Chile, a couple weeks after Exposure because they're still in town. It's so great for the community and the local businesses. Encinitas should be very proud to have Exposure in their city. Thank you.
Next speaker is Carol C.
Close enough. Mr. Chairman, commission members, staff members, I stand here not a member of Exposure Skate. I'm just a person that has worked on and off with the Community Resource Center, not part of it. And I'd like to give you another aspect to look at this as you prepare your recommendation to City Council. Exposure Skate and their support, you can see to CRC, their donation was close to $100,000. A lot of that money gets funded to the domestic violence shelter, which I'm humbled to say is called Carol's House. And I want you to know that they help save lives. I want you to know that they help young women in Little Tykes. I wish they would bring their program back with the little ones. If you see this, these little ones have no fear. And who's helping them but are the older ones, like Joey? That these young girls and young women learn how to give back just as they are receiving. It's an important and wonderful thing for them to learn. They learn self-confidence. They learn how to be strong. They learn determination. See, this is beyond everything it has brought to and will continue to bring to, we hope, the city of Encinitas. It brings something that helps on a global level. It helps to improve humanity. And I ask you please to endorse what they are asking for, what Amelia and her organization are asking for in relationship to the help they need financially. And I ask you, please, to support them as they take this now, per your request, to the City Council. Okay, thank you very much.
Next speaker is David Camper.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. David Camper. I'm a professor and chair of American Indian Studies Department at San Diego State University. And I also happen to be the associate director of our Center for Skateboarding, Action Sports, and Social Change. And I am the advisor to our new sports and society minor. I'm speaking today on a sort of broader impact that having this event here in San Diego County contributes to our university. As the gentleman before mentioned, the Encinitas and the larger San Diego area are clearly the homes and origins of skateboarding. That's why we have our center here at San Diego State in order to do research and study on the impact, social, political, economic impact that skateboarding has had and will continue to have through amazing organizations like Exposure. This event has been really valuable to our students. We've had several students volunteer, both affiliated with our skateboarding program, affiliated with our sports and society minor, and with our sports MBA program. And the experience they get by volunteering and showing their support is really one of the key kinds of education that we want to be able to provide. And that obviously couldn't happen if this event was no longer here. So I strongly urge you to recommend to keep the event here. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Megan G.
Hello. I'm Megan Guy. I'm from Florida, and I'm a member of Team USA. I've been skating for about 17 years, and growing up, I could count on my hands the number of girl skaters I'd seen in person, and it stayed like that for years. That is until 2015 when I had the opportunity to go to Exposure through their video contest. Exposure turned that handful into hundreds in one weekend. The community that Exposure has created space for spans much farther than a single weekend, though. Year-round, these women and girls stay connected. They plan group trips to come skate at Encinitas Community Park to prep for the contest, or even just to visit friends that they had made here while they were at the event, whether they were skating, spectating, or just volunteering. Speaking on my own experience, when I won the Exposure Video Contest for airfare to come here back in 2015, I was so excited. It was my first time in California and had no other way to come other than that contest. My mom and I stayed at the Best Western on Encinitas Boulevard, and I still think about it and her every single time I pass by it. I'm probably going to call her tonight because we passed by it on the way here. When I got to Encinitas Community Park, I was honestly so nervous because I knew that I wouldn't personally know anyone there. I had been in Florida my whole life. That feeling immediately went away when 2 minutes after I got out of the car and walked into the park, Alicia Lee, who is a really talented park and vert skater, shouted at me from the top of the vert ramp, "You're so good!" Immediately I felt accepted. The world of women's skateboarding opened up for me that weekend. I made friends that I still talk to today, and some of them I've had the opportunity to travel the world competing and creating more memories with. Exposure gave me the opportunity to be in a popular web series called Camp Woodward, which generated millions of views, and Exposure and the city of Encinitas were mentioned in the interview that I had to take part of for the series. The following year, I received an invite to compete at X Games, and then some years later, I eventually earned a spot on Team USA. Thinking back on it, I still can't believe all of that happened. I was just some kid from a random town in Florida, and without Exposure, I would still be there. Thank you.
Next speaker is Gabriella Levy.
Good evening, everyone. My own journey into skating began in 2020 during the start of the pandemic, when many of the resources I relied on for my mental and physical health became limited. And before I knew it, I was becoming embedded in a community that valued growth, resilience, and showing up for one another. As I became more involved, I realized skateboarding wasn't just for exercise. It was a vehicle for positive social change. That realization grew even deeper when, while in school, I began researching the skateboarding community's grassroots efforts in keeping the scene safe. That work is what eventually connected me with Amelia and Exposure Skate's mission to empower through skateboarding, work that I proudly joined in August of 2022. Studies consistently show how sports-based youth development, including skateboarding, plays a meaningful role in preventing youth violence, preventing traumatic experiences, and helping heal from them. Mentorship is also a major protective factor. At Exposure's monthly Learn to Skate clinics, girls experience exactly that: mentorship, skill building, and opportunities that strengthen their self-regulation, decision-making, and social problem-solving. Exposure's youth programs are a direct response to the need for spaces dedicated to supporting women in a male-dominated sport. They don't just teach girls how to roll down a ramp. They cultivate confidence, resilience, and community-minded leadership. I spoke with a mother whose daughter, who has special needs, regularly attends skate rising clinics whenever they take place in Encinitas. She told me, and I quote, "This clinic really brought her out of her comfort zone, socially and physically." At these clinics, girls receive positive reinforcement, confront self-doubt, recognize their potential, and learn the importance of giving back. Greater support from the city would mean more girls experiencing the social and emotional growth that skateboarding uniquely offers, and more opportunities for them to be inspired by professional and Olympic athletes right here in their hometown. Thank you, guys.
Next speaker is Zach Benavides.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Benavides. I'm here representing Barn Time Music, one of the many small businesses that Exposure hires to make this event the success that it is. We support in audio, and part of what we want to do is in Encinitas is preserve and support the artists and the community, the rich community that we have here in terms of expression and community. So we support by giving a significant discount, but it is one of our only events in September. Again, we are a very small business, and we're just so moved by what Exposure has done for these individuals, and really facilitating such a safe and positive environment. I also want to applaud the city for turning what was an abandoned agricultural space into a park that is used by so many people, and turned into a skate park. And what Exposure has done has took what you guys did and brought it to the next level. This is what parks are for, bringing people together. Exposure brings the vert ramp, something that is an extraordinary effort. So if this isn't something that the city wants to prioritize for their park, I don't know what is. But yeah, just very grateful that they're there supporting small businesses such as mine, Barn Time Music, and so lucky and grateful that they want to do it here in the city that I was born in and raised in. And that's all. Thanks.
Next speaker is Emily M.
Hello, everyone. My name's Emily, and I was born and raised in Encinitas. And I left, and also how I'm connected to all this is I'm the DJ, or I was the DJ last year at Exposure, and the past 2 years before that. And it is, I'm not personally a skater, but I think we can all agree that skating and music go hand in hand together always in the best way. And I guess something that I wanted to say today is just how I think I'm kind of echoing what everyone is saying, just how inspiring this space is. Representation matters. At Exposure, it's for young girls, it's for non-binary individuals. I've seen trans athletes skate and who are so amazing. And it's just like, it makes me proud to be from this city. And I left and I came back. And when I came back, I didn't recognize Encinitas. A lot of the institutions that I grew up learning how to express myself as a queer artist had left. And so coming back and then getting reconnected or getting connected to Exposure was one of the things that made me feel really proud to be here. So anyway, I support everybody here and all the cool things that we're all probably a part of. And yeah, I look forward to being at the next Exposure, hopefully.
Next speaker is Canton Russell.
Hello, my name is Canton Russell, and I worked on the design of the skate park that we're talking about over 10 years ago. I've worked on well over 350 skate parks all over North America and beyond, and this park is the most talked about project I've probably ever worked on because of the way we designed it to be a park-first setting to accommodate events like Exposure. And in talking to a lot of different skate park projects currently, I have 50 active right now, some of them are actively seeking to pay organizations like Exposure to do events like this at their skate park. So it'd be really awesome to find a way to partner with Exposure to, I think, keep it here. That's what this whole skate park and the environment we created around it was made for events like this. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of other skate parks right now who'd be very, who are very jealous of what you have, and they're willing to pay to have organizations and operations to bring people to their community that have such a cool background of what they're doing it for also. So if there's, I'm obviously here to help out. A lot of the people know who I am in the city, and I'm helping out however I can. But I do think just from my experience and seeing the amazing event that has happened here, I usually use this as a template of what to do, not only for the skate park itself, but for the events that it's able to hold, like exposure. And I think that this could be a good template for a lot of other people to enjoy the skate park, but enjoy the city. And I've met a lot of different people in other skate parks who actually come to the event, mostly girls, and they just talk about what the impact has made on them. And we're actually, you know, again, like I said, using that as an example of what to do. And so hopefully you can work it so you can keep it here. Yeah.
Next speaker is Credence Anderson.
Well, hello, council members, or Parks and Recs guys. This event was so cool. I mean, I don't know if how many of you got to go? Did you raise your hands? Just a couple of you. This thing was awesome. The first one I went to was only for maybe a couple hours in 2018. But this one was way bigger than I anticipated or expected. There was a lot more than 300 people there. There was a couple thousand, it seemed like. And to bring everybody from all over the world, because I was hearing, Chilenos. I lived in Chile for a little while, so I got to run into some Chilenos out here, and I was just thought, man, this is so cool that we brought everybody for this one event into Encinitas. And then I see this challenges slide, and I'm really blown away that we have such a double increase from just a 2-year difference, 3-year difference maybe, and just all the other increases against this program that it enhances the community so much. And I just want to thank these guys over here for this program. That's incredible, So I hope we can keep it. And the other thing, it kind of made sense. I've only understood, I was roped into this, last night, and I didn't know much about, why are we even talking about this, Why are we even discussing this issue? And then I come to find out that vendors are paying, was it $1,200 or something like that for the spot? And no wonder those, thrift store Dickies overalls that were a little tie-dyed are $150, because she's got to sell 6 of them, or 10 of them to get her head above water on this program. So, let's tone it down and make it accessible, for the community, to enhance the community. Thank you.
And our final speaker is Koa Costa.
Hi, my name is Koa. I'm 12 years old. I was born and raised in Encinitas. I've grown up skating the local parks, meeting friends, learning new tricks, and just spending time outside doing what I love. That's why Exposure Skate is so important to me and a lot of other kids. It's not just a skate event, it brings the whole community together. You see pros and beginners, families, little kids on their first boards, and everyone cheering each other on. Exposure is also really special because it's all about supporting girls in skateboarding and encouraging inclusivity. It shows that anyone can skate no matter who they are, and that there is space for everyone in this sport. Encinitas is a skate town. It's part of who we are. Exposure Skate makes our city even stronger and more connected. It brings in so much positive energy. So please keep Exposure Skate in Encinitas. Keep giving kids like me a chance to be inspired. Have fun and be proud of the place we call home. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes the public comment on 4A. Amelia, I would just say kudos to you and your organization for the amazing community that you have brought together in our city. It truly is quite inspiring to sit here and just listen to all these stories from such a diverse population, whether they be business owners, young women skaters themselves, or people that have benefited from the generosity of supporting the CRC and other things. So I certainly see the tremendous value that you bring to Encinitas, and it opened my eyes in the sense that it's more than a two-day event. And I think there may be people that are unfamiliar with your organization. They may think, oh, it's just a two-day event. But I can see now that it's much more than that. So I certainly appreciate your presentation. Thank you to all that have taken time out of your evening to come and share your thoughts with us. We certainly appreciate it. All right, let's move on to special presentation 4B. We have Brett Mills from Encinitas Express Soccer.
Thank you, Parks and Recs Commission, for inviting us back. We were here last month, and I am Brett Mills, Director of Program Development with Express Soccer Club, but I'm representing all the sports, I'd say most of the sports in Encinitas, to talk about the lack of space that we have in terms of lit fields and other items that we will discuss today. If you want to go through the first few, this we discussed last month, so we can slide through these. This is just the inventory that we currently have in Encinitas. Go ahead to the next one. And this is where we get to our key challenges. The key challenges that I want to speak the most about tonight are the lack of lit field space for our older children in the area, the sharing of the space in with multiple organizations. So again, I'm representing multiple sports here today. We've gotten together outside of this council chambers to decide how we can come together to make sure that we as sports organizations can work together. So part of that is sharing the space that we'll discuss a little bit later. And then the quality of the fields. Right now we have one turf field in Encinitas. We want to advocate for possibly finding more turf fields and lit fields going forward. So go ahead to the next slide. So this is where we find that we can find change to happen as soon as possible in Encinitas. The first one would be to turf and light ECP3. If you can click on that link just so that we can make sure we're all understanding the space that we're talking about. So at ECP3, it's here right in the center of the space. It's a baseball field with an outfield that is used for multi-sport. There's also a field that we call the practice field that's attached to it that goes towards the playground. On top of that, there's a waste area there that I believe is for drainage. So what we would like to propose is kind of reconstruction of this space at ECP3. We've worked with the baseball community, and as of right now, they say that that baseball field is something that they don't use and don't need for gaming. We do have many baseball fields in the area, so part of this proposal would be to reconstruct this space by getting rid of that dirt baseball field, which could then act as potentially an area to store goals, soccer goals, lacrosse goals. Rugby uses their posts. So if we can convert that space into more of a storage and use grass or what we would like to see turf go in the long term, we know that that is a financial burden that we'd have to figure out. But for now, it would be a reconstruction of that space to create more space for multi-use rather than just the baseball. The only sport that needs that dirt is the baseball. And if they're saying that that's not a useful space for them, we think that we could benefit the other sports like rugby, lacrosse, soccer to use that as a full grass field. That would be temporary to get it grass, but again, like I said, we would like to see turf go in there. And the other renovation to that would be lights. Right now, we would understand that it wouldn't be permanent lights that could go in there, but we'd like to talk to City Council about bringing in temporary lights into that space. So just so we know the space, you can go back to the regular slides. So that's the renovation that we want to talk about in terms of ECP3. The other portion of this tonight that we wanted to talk about is the multi-use permitting. So as you see as an example, if we were to renovate that space, it is a rather large space that we consider one field as of right now. Oftentimes, as a soccer organization, if we only have 2 or 3 teams that need to be in that space, we're wasting some of that space. Or if baseball is only using on field 2, their little guys on the dirt, that outfield space then becomes unused space. So if we can relook at how we design the field space so that we can have multi-sport groups out there at the same time, that would help to use the space much better. Right now, we've gotten some pushback in terms of insurance and whether 2 sports can be out there at the same time. We've looked at our insurance. They have no concerns of us being out there next to a rugby organization. And also Little League has looked into that, into their insurance to see if they can also be out there with multi-sport. So again, if we're looking for solutions to find better use of the space, the renovation of ECP3 is going to be huge. And if we can, in the spaces that we have at the YMCA, at Cardiff Sports Park, and the other fields at ECP 2 and 1, have multi-sport permitting, which right now is coming down to insurance, which we don't see an issue with our own insurance companies stopping us from do that. The last thing that we want to talk about briefly is the collaboration on field scheduling platform. Parker does a great job in Park Rec to take our allocation requests and put them together in a spreadsheet that works okay. I also work with the San Diego Unified High School District, Encinitas Unified School District, and Pacific Ridge to book other fields because Encinitas at this time doesn't necessarily fit all of our needs. So we're going out to other organizations, and they use other systems that are much easier to use, much easier to collaborate with other sports organizations using those fields, also easier to pay invoices, things like that with the new invoicing system that we have. I think if we could look at getting Parker a different program to work on the allocation, that would be great. And one of those that we use is Facilitron, which I have a slide on as well. So if you want to go on to the next slide, these are just some of the challenges we have with the grass. Obviously, Brian does a great job as doing his best with those grass fields, but this weekend was a perfect example. We run our playoffs for our soccer 10 weeks, and then we end with a great event at the end of the year where 65 teams get to come out together and finish with a nice little event. We were having to cancel all of that except for the one age group that could participate at Leo Mullen, which was our turf field. The kids had a great time playing out in the rain. It was safe, and they were able to play on that turf field. They were the only ones in our program, which has 1,500 recreational kids that got to end their season in a way that they felt it was complete. So if we can get more turf fields out there, that's going to be a huge advantage to rainy day situations and also the rest and renovations that Brian has to do because of all of these factors on this slide to get to the fields at the level that we want. Those rest and renovation times can often be up to 12 weeks per field, done in fall, summer, or spring, whenever that's appropriate for that field to go down. But that time that those fields are taken off the calendar become more time that our kids don't have space out on those fields. Go ahead to the next slide. So we've looked into some of the options for turf through the city of Carlsbad, who have done a lot of turfing recently. Also, San Diego Unified High School District has re-turfed San Diego. They've also turfed Torrey Pines. So they've given us a lot of information on some performance turf that has been approved by those school districts and also other cities, because I know there are some proponents to turf. So these options act more as a natural grass, which are going to prevent some of the injuries that people talk about with turf. We're far away from the ground up tires inside of turf. There's much better solutions. So there are economic ways, also better healthy for our players and also for the environment. So we can look into other options of that. Go ahead to the next slide. So this was the pivot performance turf. I won't go into that, but we can provide you more information on exactly the how those are going to affect the players in a positive way and the environment. Go ahead to the next slide. So last one on here is the lights at ECP 3, which we've talked about. We have provided lights at Leo Mullen, as you guys probably know, for over 20 years. We've paid for those lights through rentals. We just spent $300,000 on new lights that we put out at Leo Mullen so that we can perform our practices, no games, but practices out at Leo Mullen. So if you want to go to the next slide, we have a few of the specs on the lights that we use. So these blue towers you can see at Leo Mullen. So it is an option to bring lights onto the field without being permanent. We've worked closely with the Homeowners Association in and around Leo Mullen over the last 15 to 20 years to make sure that we're using lights appropriate, facing them in the directions that won't affect their views of the neighborhood. And now we've got the 100% renewable energy. We did have diesel-powered lights out there for 15 years, which no one seemed to have an issue with, which seems surprising with all the environmental concerns we have about everything else. But now we have this solution out there, which has been amazing for us at Leo Mullen, and something like this we feel could be a great solution at Encinitas Community Park. And I know there'll be proponents, again, against the lights and anything that was put in place when that park was in, but I think those same proponents were put at Leo Mullen, and we fought through those and made sure that we did the right thing for these athletes to be able to perform what they do, not just 3:30 to 5 during this time where we're in the winter. Becomes very difficult for our players to get out there. As you may know, the school hours have changed over the last year, so kids aren't even getting out of school until 3:30. So to get them out onto the field by 4:15, 4:30 is appropriate, and it's getting dark at 5 o'clock. So if we do have some lit fields at Cardiff Sports Park, the YMCA, which our adult softball uses a lot of those valuable hours, which I'm not saying we should get rid of adult softball, but if we can create more fields with lights and turf, it can just create more opportunities for our youth and our adults to be out doing what they want to do into the evening. Go ahead with the next slide. And then the last part we talked about a little bit, and I'll go through this one quick, but that multi-use permitting, again, if we are having issues with working together as sports organizations, and if we are able to share the space and get rid of this insurance issue, if we can bring our insurance to you guys and you take a look and allow us to be out on the field together, whether that be rugby and soccer, lacrosse and baseball, whatever that combination may be, that would be an instant impact to help create more space out there for us. Go ahead with the next slide. This, again, we'll talk with Parker and find another solution. This is not high on our priority list, but if we can get a program that will help all of us work together to collaborate on the space, Facilitron is one that we can give information on that we use through the San Diego Unified High School District currently. Go ahead with the next slide. So the next steps is we would ask you, the Parks and Recs Commission, to take our ideas to City Council for an action plan of 2026, mainly surrounding the plans around Encinitas Community Park, Field Number 3. We will continue to gather support from our organizations, similar to what we just saw. We have thousands of parents in and around this area that would come and share their stories of how sports have impacted their child's lives and how having turf and lit fields could continue to impact their lives. We also know that this is going to be a financial burden on the city to propose these, so we will find donations, financial backers to help share the cost of these proposed projects. And as we know, we continue to see housing go up, building go up. If we can mark any spot in Encinitas for future sports parks is going to be important to us. As you guys know, it's about every 15 or 20 years that we have seen new parks need to go up, and we are about 15 years coming up in 2030 for Encinitas Community Park to be our last sports park to go up. And with the raising number of kids and athletes, I think we're going to have to find space for another sports park in the future as well. So that is all I have to present today. I'd love to answer any questions that you have on any of those items, but I appreciate your guys' time tonight. Go ahead to the next slide. So these are some of the organizations that are backing me tonight in terms of these solutions. Is not just me saying that we need this. All the organizations in Encinitas have decided that this could be an impactful way to help all of us at the fields that we use.
Thank you, Brett. I very much appreciate the presentation, and I'm so glad that we were able to hear more in-depth versus what we were able to hear during oral communications in the previous meeting. So I love that you came to the commission with some solid recommendations, and I would like to open up to the commission to ask any questions that they may have.
Yeah, I've got, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe it was in the beginning of the briefing, 'cause, first of all, great job, by the way. So we're talking about a lot of people. What's the population that's in your organization right now, aggregate?
So in ours, just the soccer is 2,300. I'd say
300.
Yeah, after polling most of the other organizations, there's close to 7,000 athletes that we're talking about in these sports organizations that you're looking at their logos right now.
There's a significant number of local people So turf-wise, I noticed you said, well, so those lights, how many of those lights to light up a single field would?
So we purchased 14. Currently, there is 10 at Leo Mullen, which sufficiently lights up that area.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and we also at Calle Barcelona, which is San Diego Sports Complex off of Calle Barcelona, we have 4 lights there. The school district also puts lights out there, and it's about 10 lights out there as well to light one 11v11 size soccer field, if we're talking soccer ratios.
And turf, we now have healthy solutions for turf now for sports players. Is that?
I believe so. I mean, we've come a long way, like I said, from the rubber particles inside that people worried about. This turf system that they put in was approved in Carlsbad, also by the San Marcos Unified School District. So it has been approved by local organizations that I'm sure would put the similar protests to having turf in Encinitas as well.
Yeah, super cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question around when you were showing on the map the ECP3 area. How many sports, like soccer fields, can you get in that configuration now versus how many could you get if the baseball area was converted to turf? I know you said some of it would be storage, but would it give you extra field capacity also?
Yes, absolutely. So just that, for soccer, we have different size fields for different ages, but currently, or in years past, we've used 11v11 size field, and it just maximizes every little space of that, which is for the middle school and high school age. Currently, we use the 7v7 fields, which are our smallest, and we can fit 2. If we're creative with the lining of those fields with turf, yes, I think we could fit 3 to 4 fields in that space if we do it right.
Okay. And to light those fields then, you know, when you had said earlier to the commissioner's question about roughly 10 lights to light a field, would it be 40 lights or actually maybe less because a light along a row you're lighting potentially 2 fields, but do you have a sense for how much lighting you need for something like that?
I think it would depend on how we redesign the space, but 15 lights, if we were to get 15 lights, I think would be able to light a large majority of it. That would help significantly in creating, I think there was a part in there that if we can just add 2 hours during the wintertime, that 2 hours per day during the wintertime, you're talking about 2,500 extra hours over the winter.
So that would be lights out by 7, 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock?
I think we would ask for 8 o'clock would be substantial in timing for us. For our little guys, 3:30 to 5, 5 to 6:30, 6:30 to 8 are usually the time slots that we fill in soccer at least. So if we could have space until 8 o'clock, because in the summer, that's about the time that we have with natural light. So if we could continue that into the winter, that would help for our organization for sure.
And lastly, how long do the lights stay on at Leo Mullen right now?
We have an option to keep them until 9 o'clock, and that is during the school time. Summer, we turn them off because we have the natural light, and so we adjust our times to 8 o'clock, but what we're permitted to do right now is 9 p.m. at Leo Mullen.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a question about the multi-use field scheduling. Do you have an example of a park or community that's doing a good job with shared, limited resources of space?
Yeah, we do have someone in our organization that is works in Parks and Rec and Carlsbad, and so he shared some situation in Carlsbad that they're able to share that space. I think the easiest one is talking about sports like us and rugby, similar types of sports. The one that I think an example that's brought up a lot is baseball. So if baseball, little guys, T-ball age, are using the infield of baseball, there's no danger of them hitting a far ball into the outfield. So if Little League, the 5 to 7, 8-year-olds are using the infield, the outfield is completely empty because when they rent the field, they get the dirt and the outfield. So then community members come in, which is not a bad thing, but the field is still being used by lacrosse or soccer, private lessons, things like that, when other sports organizations could be using that space. So we're just not using the space effectively in those type of situations.
I want to thank you. My daughters played for Express 25 years ago.
Awesome.
And it was fantastic. My stepdaughter played for Coastal Dragons Rugby. The solar lights on cloudy days, how long do they last?
I have the specs on there, but I think the storage is 5 to 7 hours. So we haven't had an issue at Leo Mullen at all with the sun that we have. So a week like this could put it to the test, but so far we've had no issues with it not holding the charge.
Okay, and back to the baseball. That baseball diamond that's on the south end of ECP, it's not being utilized? Is that what you're saying?
So my understanding from Encinitas Little League, who, if they were using it, they would definitely let us know. They say the dimensions of it currently don't suit any of the gaming that they'd like to do on it. They do often use it for some practices, but they have told us that that would be okay if we were to get rid of that baseball diamond. And the way they think about it is if right now we as a soccer organization use the outfield of the YMCA, we can only put our littlest kids out there. We cram 60 of them in that space. If we're to create a new space at ECP where we can take those kids off the outfield of a baseball, they get their baseball field back, we get a lit space that fits some of our older players, not just our little guys. So they're looking at, they give a baseball field away, they get the YMCA back. So it's more of just this solves a certain problem. Same with softball. If we get some teams off of Cardiff Sports Park, then that gives softball their field back and things like that. So it's, again, that's how we figured out, all of us, that it benefits all of us, not just us getting a soccer field, us coming off some of the baseball fields will help the baseball and softball groups.
Yeah, thanks for coming back and giving us more detailed information, really helpful. So out of the group that you're here to speak on behalf, are there any others that utilize the fields and go through the permitting process that aren't represented by you speaking tonight?
I've sent this presentation out a couple of times, so I don't know that they're not supporting us or they just didn't send us their logos, but I think the only one on here is Cardiff Soccer's, now San Diego Soccer's youth group, but they, I know, would benefit greatly from this project as well.
And it may be the better way to ask it. So if your estimate is like 7,000 youth sports participants, is there like other organizations that maybe would make that more that are using the fields, or is that pretty much the right
Parker
number?
could speak on it probably better than I, but I think there's 8 of us that are considered the sports organizations of Encinitas that get allocated fields. I think there's sports organizations always looking to get into there, but we have historical use that luckily we get to take advantage of the space. So I guess down the road, if we were able to turf and light more fields, then potentially more sports organizations that have not been able to get fields would have that opportunity as well.
In regards to the permitting you mentioned, is that something that happens on like an annual basis at the same time every year? Is it something?
Yeah, we do it twice a year. So January through June and July through December is the allocation period. So about a month before that, we'll all get together and put in our requests. And like I said, Parker does a great job at putting the Rubik's Cube together of who gets what space at what time and what days. And then we come in, and if there's an issue, we kind of figure it out at that time. And after that meeting, we're kind of in for those 6 months. And he has created a Google Doc where we can now give space back if we're not using it, because that has been a big issue where people drive around and see space that's open. So that's created an option for us to give space back and get space that we would like. But again, that Google Doc is something new that we just created, and I know there's a better way that we could be looking at that space with some other systems that are out there.
So, okay, good. So you would say like it's collaborative right now. Everyone who has some stake in the use of the field is able to participate in that.
Absolutely.
Is there any issues with, well, let me ask. So every one of these organizations does pay like a fee for use of the fields?
So that's a fee structure that just went in last year, and it's based on players in our organization. So we pay per player rather than per hour, which I think there's room for debate on that as well, but I don't think that's something we need to discuss tonight. But yes, we are paying.
Okay, so if it's per head, this is similar to what we learned with like the surf permitting. Are you getting kind of like per square foot? I don't know how it works. Like you're getting use of the amount of fields. Everyone's kind of getting their fair share of how much use of the fields that they.
I guess, again, it's up for debate, but yeah, I think it's based right now on historical use, what we've asked for in the past and has worked for us. And again, it's not a lot of changes every time we go to these meetings. We've all kind of agreed to the space that we have. We build our programs around that space, and we're all okay with the space. But like I said, we're spending, and I can only speak to soccer, close to $250,000 a year on fields at other school districts and things like that because our needs aren't met by the city of Encinitas. But we have the largest group, and we're not trying to turn people away. We take people that want to play, and we go and find fields where we need to find them.
Right. Fair to say you're here because you want to have access to more time on the fields, if that's possible, right?
Yeah.
More hours.
Again, we are paying, but you guys, as the city of Encinitas, have also always been very financially responsible to us organizations. So if we can stay in Encinitas and use the space at a price that's reasonable, that's where we'd like to be.
Last question. I saw on your cards the flag football. I know that's like been a growing sport. I know that those are programs kind of run out of Carlsbad, but you're not the first person I've heard like issues with them using fields without going through permitting. I know they get into like HOA parks. So I'm wondering if there has been any conversation between that you're aware of between your organizations and the flag football organizations to like get with you have to pay to play kind of thing, or
so again, Parker,
how is this getting enforced when these issues arise?
So there are, I'm sorry, Parker, what are they called?
Yeah, so we encounter several different flag football groups at this time, roughly 3 to 4 different organizations. And essentially the way that they operate is each coach is being told to find their own place to practice, which, as you might imagine, is difficult for us as city staff to be able to try and manage that. I try to approach the heads of all these organizations to, if they pop up in the city, work with them to try and give them space under the same sort of allocation that our regular groups are using on spaces that they can't use. So smaller spaces, because flag football tends to be anywhere from 6 to 9 or 10 players, a lot smaller footprint. So we've got a few spaces that, like Brett's group, can't even fit on, that I'll put them, single teams for an hour here or there. For the groups that are willing to work with me, which is only one of those organizations so far. And even that, within that organization, he will tell his teams, okay, you have these spaces at these times, and then the teams go and use our parks that are not designated for those teams anyway. The coaches kind of take it upon themselves to do their own thing. So that's kind of the nature of what I've been dealing with over the last 2 to 3 years. And it's been a nightmare to try and control, frankly. So we continue to try and work with those groups and put them on spaces and get them off of random parks. We do have some residents that reach out to us and report these groups, asking us to do something about it. And we do our best to encourage them to go to the spaces that we put them at, but it is kind of a bit like whack-a-mole, and we're dealing with it constantly. So.
Good.
Just a point of order here. With the fact that we're coming up at 7 o'clock, I'd like to go ahead and wrap up discussion on this particular item on the agenda by 7. So if we could just make our closing comments and questions at that point.
Just to kind of visualize your example, so Leo Mullen has turf. Is there 2 fields there?
Yeah, Leo Mullen Upper is
Okay.
more of a traditional baseball field, which multi-use, I think Pop Warner uses the outfield. And then the lower field is a soccer field, which has turf.
Okay, so the lower field is the only one with the turf, and that's where you have the 10 lights.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question? Last few seconds here.
Just very brief. You mentioned you had about 2,300 players in your organization, and that you go outside to other places, to other cities to locate playing fields. I'm curious, like over the last 5 years, do you have any rough date on how much the organization has grown, or has it been fairly static at that 2,000 number?
It's probably grown in the last 6 years by 500 players. And we have a recreational side and what you guys would consider a competitive program as well. So our competitive program has grown probably by 250 of those, and about 250 on the rec as well.
Okay. Just my daughter played, but it was 15 years ago, and we always had to go to Carlsbad to play. We could never play at a field here. So I was curious how much growth you've seen over the years.
Yeah, we have, and that's what brings us here. Is I see that it's going to continue to grow, and I think what we've seen more is that they're continuing to play through middle school and high school, even if they're not making their high school teams, especially in soccer, that competitive soccer world. High school sports is not the end-all be-all like it used to be. I think we as an organization have a lot of competitive kids that aren't making high school teams that want to continue to play for us, and we're having trouble finding spaces for the older kids because they get out later, and we need that lighted space.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brett. I certainly
guys.
appreciate your time tonight and providing such a thorough presentation and answering our questions so well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, fantastic. So let's move on to item 5, oral communications. Do we have any oral communications?
There are no oral communications,
Any changes to the agenda?
and there are no changes to the posted agenda.
Fantastic. Let's move on to approval of minutes for the October 21st meeting. Are there any comments or revisions regarding the regular meeting minutes? I move to approve the October 21st minutes. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the October 21st minutes are approved.
All right, great. Let's go ahead and move on to the work plan. And we'll try to be somewhat brief to make sure that we get through the entire meeting without an extension. The first one is pretty well completed. I would ask that the ad hoc work now on creating some outcome language Basically, what that language is basically kind of taking what the projected outcome is and actually writing up what actually ended up happening. So it doesn't need to be lengthy, but not only for this ad hoc, but also for other ad hocs, if we could start looking at thinking about how we want to kind of wrap up that final outcome. And that's basically what will end up going to City Council in the end. So as we go through these work plan items, if you have a completed work plan item, start thinking in January as to what you might want that outcome to be. Because we'll only have 2 meetings, January and February, to finalize it. So, and then, of course, March starts all over again with a new work plan. Alrighty, so the city events, we have the holiday parade coming up, and I know Commissioner Cormorant is the lead on that. Do you want to give us an update?
Or do you want to go? Yeah.
So you should have gotten an email from Manager Norgard about just who's going to be attending, so please respond to that. And then I will circulate. We have been working on what the look's going to be, and there'll be lights, there'll be a banner, things like that, but there might be some other accoutrement or things to have people bring or that we will bring. So either I'll reach out individually if I need some help with like a particular thing, but most likely we'll send something out through Manager Norgard of where to be and what to wear, if that's acceptable.
And does anyone know at this point whether they will not be able to attend? It's on December 6th?
Sorry, December 6th, yes.
And you probably start lining up around 4:30, I think.
The parade starts after it gets dark, right? 5?
Yeah, 5.
And I've heard haven't been allocated yet, but I heard we're going to be more in the front end. Most likely we will be toward the front of the parade, so we won't have to wait till the very end.
Historically, that's where we've been, so hopefully that will continue to be the case.
I know Commissioner Comrat can't make it, which is why Michael and I have kind of taken over delivering this. But yeah, the other thing was just in the past, if there's no problem with bringing family members, more the merrier if anybody else wants to walk. So that's really if we know there's going to be a handful of others, I just want to make sure we have enough lights or, party favors.
Great. Would you prefer that we kind of communicate that information through Manager Norgard then?
That would just be easier so that we have just kind of a number, a good estimate number. If we can get that in the next couple of days, that would be great.
And actually, we could just, as long as we're communicating directly with you, that's not an issue. So just one person, like if I want to tell you I'm bringing a guest, I can do that without having to go through Manager Norgard managing that process.
True?
Point of order, those should come through me.
Oh, they should too. Okay.
He wants to
I
know
take
who's
that back.
coming too.
All right. Well, so just to be clear, everyone sends their RSVP, let's say, to Manager Norgard, and let's do that as soon as we can. Maybe later on this week would be ideal.
Yeah, a quick question on that. Is there a minimum age requirement? Can a child walk?
Yeah, I believe many of our entries have children.
Okay, I just didn't know for our commission. People will know I'm not.
They're the best. That's if you got the little guys, bring them.
All right, let's move on to number 3, guest speakers, and I'll hand that over to Vice Chair Evers.
No updates to report.
I do have just a couple of things to add. So in speaking with Manager Norgard with regards to the pollinator garden work plan item, we're hoping to be able to get some of the interested parties to come and speak to us in January. So that's kind of our goal that we're shooting for at this point. The other thing is Mark O'Connor from the Environmental Commission actually reached out to me regarding a nonprofit called the Santoy Recycle Project, and I met with a representative from that nonprofit. They basically are proposing the idea of having a bin that people could pick up sand toys that they see on the beach, deposit it there in this bin. They'll come and make sure that the toys are in safe working function. And then if somebody that's coming to visit the beach wants to use one of the toys while they're there, they're certainly welcome to. So it's kind of a win-win type of situation. And we've invited her to come and speak to us on our January meeting.
On that is a really good idea. I've cleaned up Moonlight Beach multiple times, and there's always sand toys. And yeah, so I think that's a really good plan. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it is as well. There's and she'll go over the multitude of benefits to the environment as well as to safety. So I'm excited to share that presentation with her. We did meet with Manager Norgard and Director Knopp, and so this is kind of the next step. Bylaws, my understanding is that's going to just kind of continue being in this indefinite hold at this point. I did meet with the president of the Cardiff by the Sea Foundation last week, kind of talking about their progression on the Harbor Parkway development. Not a whole lot to report at this point on anything that we can do to assist them. Moving on to item number 6, regarding the outdoor adult fitness equipment, that's still in construction drawing phase for the 3 playgrounds, Wiro, Orpheus, and then also Glen Park, but only Glen Park and Orpheus are on schedule to include adult fitness equipment. Moving on to the tennis court and pickleball court. Anything to report?
No new update. I'll start working on the language for end of the year.
Thank you. And Manager Norgard, did you want to give us a quick report on some small amount of feedback that you've been giving, but we certainly should hear it?
Sure. I have had a couple folks reach out in the last month or 6 weeks, raising some concerns about our rules, group play model. So a couple individuals have come and tried to play and found it difficult to play, obviously with not having a group, and had some ideas about, is it possible to have a portion of the pickleball dedicated side, so court 2, be open play and part of it group play. Similar concerns that we've heard in the past about 2 tennis players can remove 16 pickleball players, but that's just kind of the status quo that we have right now. So probably worth keeping an eye on. I have a voicemail from one individual that I've been playing phone tag with, and I want to encourage you to come to speak to commission so you can hear directly from that individual. So overall, not a great uptick, but we still have kind of the same concerns that we've heard in the past. And I think when we heard this earlier in the year, last year, we had about mixed feedback on group play versus open play. The folks that play group really like it. The folks that do open play really like it. So we're still kind of almost 50-50, but it's generally been quiet.
Thank you.
We did move to like one court, right, having some open play for certain parts of the day.
They're still all group play now. We do have a paddle rack holder. We have a couple actually that we can put out in the park so that folks can have a better queuing system. And we've kind of waited to do that to see how the temperature is out there and if we're going to have some open play so that we don't get folks too confused. The other feedback that we had on the group play is something I think that we heard before, where folks will show up with a group and kind of cycle members in and out as a way to kind of game that 1 hour limit. So that can cause some stress at busy times of the day.
Thank you. Moving on to pop-up parks. we did hold a pop-up park at the movie night at Glen Park at the end of October. That was a nice success. Not only the movie night itself, which was really fun and had a costume party, which we actually ended up being able to participate in, which was fun. But then we also got a lot of activity with the kids playing around using the various games, cornhole, Connect Four. Axe throwing continues to be like the big game to play. So I had photos to share, but unfortunately we have kind of a new rule that we're adapting to with regards to sharing photos and presentations prior to the agenda being posted. So we'll adapt to that. I know that there was the trails. Oh, and I did want to also thank Vice Chair Evers and then also Commissioner Quinn for coming to volunteer at the pop-up park. Moving on to trails, I know that earlier you had talked about maybe doing a presentation tonight, or you want to do that another time, or where are you at?
We did submit a presentation and, Brown Act, the new rule thing.
Okay.
So if we can push that to January?
Yeah, I can include it in the agenda next meeting.
Okay, well, we met as an ad hoc in the beginning of November and thought it would be great to do that presentation again. The three of us went out on our individual trails, two of us before the rain, one after the rain. One thing to report is the biannual meeting. I reached out to Bob Keeley, and it's going to be December 9th, I think at 1:30. So we plan to attend that. I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing your presentation not next month, the following month in January. Moving on to number 10. So this is one of these things where it was City Council directed, and so it's obviously of importance. It was a carryover from the previous administration or the previous council. There are 3 things that are listed there. The first 2, we're having some challenges getting a meeting to meet with some of the tribal members, so we'll continue to try to reach out to them to encourage their participation. But there is point number 3, and that's include feasibility of a viewpoint and pathways and coordinate parking off-site. I might recommend to the ad hoc that they consider maybe meeting with Manager Norgard on site just to kind of view it and then just maybe come back with some general thoughts.
Yeah, I was planning on I was thinking about how to wrap this up this year, because I know you want to wrap this up by March and I was thinking of getting a group out there just to do a status report on this site as to where it is. Maybe do a visit with the subcommittee, take a couple of photos, talk to Manager Norgard, and just kind of just a short document or briefing as to where we are with this.
That sounds great. I'd love that. I think
And
that will work out
if you
well.
want, we'll take a look while we're down there and look at the parking off-site, because that's going to be a challenge, because there's really just nothing there, right? It's yeah. So and to start these other 2 just wouldn't make a lot of sense, because it's the first thing we do is just want to do a site visit with people from outside the organization. We're just not. It's not a good look right now.
And
But I'll put together. We'll put together a final report for you in January.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you. Regarding the pollinator garden, the idea is there, we'll go ahead and hopefully have some community members that will come in and speak to that in January. Anything that you'd like to report regarding work plan item number 13? Commissioner Vanderweer? Oh, did I skip 11? Well, I think I just spoke to 11. So 11, we're going to have a guest, hopefully we'll invite guest speakers to attend in January. Number 12, let's go ahead and just wrap up the last two, and then we'll swing back to 12 because they have a longer presentation, and I think we can kind of wrap up the last two in a couple minutes. So 13, with regards to marketing and so forth, anything that you'd like to report?
I don't have an update. Manager Hamer, is there any update on promotions?
Just that our activity guide for winter will be mailed out on November 29th, and the registration will open on December 1st. So that will be a second round for the winter season.
All right, fantastic. And then you can, if you have some extra copies, you're welcome to bring them in January, and we can do our commissioner distribution. All right, and finally, number 14, Commissioner Kimball, did you have anything to report at this point? I know this is probably one of those things that's probably wrapped up for the year, but...
Yeah, nothing new to report. There hasn't been any activity lately.
Fantastic. So let's swing back to number 12, because I know that you had some information to present to the commission, so I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Commissioner Kimball.
Thank you. So we've got 8 minutes at most, okay, or 10. I will start with a couple of things that are the most urgent, and if we have time, then we can go into the other ones. So I'm going to focus more on the skateboarding part of the ad hoc. First, I wanted to have the commission reflect on the presentation we had today from Exposure Skate and all the community support that came. If you recall, in our September meeting, when we presented our recommendation to endorse the city having a collaborative relationship with Exposure Skate, there was some reluctance to bring that to vote because the event was coming up and the commission felt like we should see how that goes and get a little more data. You got a lot of data, and I mean, 2 of us were able to go. I hope that you felt inspired by what they were doing. And so, you know, given that we've had the presentation, I don't think anything has fundamentally changed since we had the initial discussion, is we'd like to bring forward to vote our original recommendation to recommend to the City Council that they consider having directing staff to have a collaboration discussion with Exposure Skate to see if there are ways to help them stay in Encinitas. You know, other cities are making it very easy to move. Why are we making it hard for them to stay? And so I believe within this, you know, in this, can I bring that, you know, make a motion to bring that to vote in this ad hoc report part of the agenda? I believe we did it last in September, so I'm just asking again.
Are there any discussion points that any of the commissioners would like to make regarding Exposure Skate?
Not anything further, just to say we did really discuss this prior meeting. We just wanted to hold off until after the event. And so that's why I think we didn't end up voting for it at that time.
And I think it's also beneficial to hear from Exposure Skate and the community as well. So at the point, only Commissioner Kimball had any direct communication with the organization. So it enabled the entire commission to actually have firsthand association with the organization and their supporters. I think the big question here is it all comes down to money. And of course, we don't decide on the money aspect of it. So that's really a city council function in their budgetary process, and they have to kind of decide when they're looking at their budget for the year whether they want to allocate that type of money towards that organization. And then also what kind of slippery slope does that also introduce? You know, is Bro-Am all of a sudden going to start coming to the city and saying, oh, well, we noticed you're doing this for Exposure Skate. Are you now going to also do that for us? So it is challenging, It's an amazing organization. It's an amazing event that happens in our city. It is right on point with regards to our Encinitas brand, as well as the fact that we're such an important location for skate as a sport. But I think that limiting it to basically saying that we think that they're a very important part of our community and that we should basically have staff work with them to see if there's something that we could do or come up with some type of budget that could be included in their discussions next year for budget. That
That's all
sounds
we're
great.
asking.
Yeah.
We're just advisory and saying, we think this is a great organization. Put it on the list with the other areas that commissions and community members think are good organizations, and the city council will decide what they want to do.
Absolutely.
I think that if I understand correctly from the meeting we had in September, Manager Norgard, if we vote to make this recommendation, we would write a short memo again that would be delivered through you to city council for whatever consideration process they have going forward. Is that accurate?
That's correct. There's a couple options. One is it will be reflected on your work plan, and that will go to council. The second option is to have a memo that goes up to council as well.
Given the timing that we were talking about getting in front of Chair Ritter had stated that they should go in, the organization should go in front of city council January, February to be at least in their line of sight as they get ready to go for the budgeting process. I think it would be easy for us to write a short memo that we can review, agree on, and send to them, and just to show that our commission has done that, has this opinion, because the timing of our work plan ends in March. By then, they're into budgeting, and it feels like we'll have a mismatch in timing, and it may get lost. So that's what I would recommend that we do.
Yeah, I second that. I agree.
I agree as well that a memo should be drafted. I would like the entire commission to see that final memo, and then we do a final approval of it before then it goes to city council.
Can I make a quick comment on this? I know we're pressed for time, but based on what we saw today, we really saw one side of this story here, right? And I'm just concerned that we move forward without doing our due diligence to say, well, yeah, the permitting went up 196%, but we haven't asked anybody who is in the know really why that happened, or so.
Well, we did meet with staff to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did. We did meet with staff also.
The ad hoc did. And I don't think I don't think it's like that two-sided street. If there's other cities that are willing to give them $100,000 to do their event there, and we're just recommending don't, lose the opportunity to keep this great organization here. If they don't want to do it, they don't have to. City's decision.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just concerned that there's other organizations, like you said, that might come out and say, hey, I want the same deal as that.
Well, my opinion is that's going to happen regardless. So, they can come in front of the group here and start the process to see if they can get support. We did meet with Manager Norgard and Director Knopp during the summertime to talk about all of the topics. And so, yes, costs have gone up. Whether there's no good or nor bad about it, it's just that's the fact.
And attendance has gone up, apparently.
Attendance has gone up.
Yeah.
Their footprint has stayed the same, roughly. So it's, we don't make the final decision. Yeah. We're just going to recommend that we think that it should be looked at.
I'm comfortable with that.
And since we're dark on December, we can put that on the agenda for the January meeting to review the memo, and we'll make sure we get that to you before the agenda goes out.
So what I would recommend doing is taking both skate recommendations, the skate bowl and the exposure skate, and have it be just one memo that we would send up to city council. How does the commission feel about that?
I guess I just have one clarification on that. The recommendation sent to city council, are they required to take that up as a whole thing? Are they allowed to say, well, we just want to talk about this part of it or that part of it, because I do think they're two distinct things. I don't want to force them to have to make a decision on both, if just because it's in the same recommendation. If that's not what they're required to do, then for efficiency, then that's a good idea.
I would actually prefer that they be two memos just because they're very different. One is an event, and the other is improvements to park facilities. And I think they fall into different categories and maybe even, I don't know how you manage your budgets, but different pots of money. So, and are we out of time? We already have. Oh, somebody's phone, okay. And if we have, so I would prefer if we had it as two separate memos. 'Cause I think it becomes too much to absorb at one time, and then they have to say picking and choosing, it's like a menu.
Manager Norgard, can we send one memo that have two recommendations on it?
I think the cleanest way is, if we're going to take this to council anyway, I could take it as one agenda item and present two memos. So they are separate topics. They're both under the same work plan item, but they kind of fall out separately, so I don't see any issue with two discrete memos.
All right, that sounds great. Let's do that.
Can I ask just one question? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Manager Norgard, is it typical for commissions to put forward, like nonprofits, to recommend collaboration with the city? I want to make sure that we're, is there precedent for doing this sort of thing? Or what is there another route for nonprofits to request funding? Should it be going through us?
I can only speak with my experience on the commission. I haven't seen it here on this commission. Obviously, like mentioned before, the chair mentioned Exposure or any other nonprofits obviously can approach council now or during budget. That's their direct line. Again, it's your recommendation. If you make it, council can take it or not.
I'd like to recommend or make a motion that we extend the meeting by 10 minutes. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take a manual vote, so you can say yes or no. Chair Ritter?
Yay.
Vice Chair Evers?
Yay.
Commissioner Capiello?
Yay.
Commissioner Kamarat? Yay. Commissioner Kimball?
Yay.
Commissioner Quinn?
Yes.
And Commissioner Van der Aure.
Yay.
The meeting's extended to 7:40.
Thank you. Any other comments on the memo?
Do we need to vote on it? Or are we?
Well, I think at this point, we kind of need to see what the memo is going to be, and I guess we'll see that in January.
Oh, I was going to ask, there's a lot of process here, so maybe coming from not fully understanding the process, do we need to vote to agree that we want to write the memo to do this?
Manager Norgard, could you give your opinion on that?
I don't know. He's given me lots of feedback this week, so I just want to stay within the lines.
Ultimately, yes, you will need to vote to make a recommendation to City Council to send a memo. Whether you do that tonight or with the draft of a memo, that's really up to the commission.
So I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to see the two memos, and then why don't we then, in January, vote on the actual memo when we get it.
Okay.
I have one, just because I feel like it's rehashing the same thing. If I recall, a few months ago, this whole commission discussed and voted to prepare a memo to send to City Council regarding the skate bowl and the skate parks. And so this discussion tonight worries me that we're revisiting whether or not to even do that. I understand we now have to approve the language of the memo, but our discussion came to a vote to approve recommending based on the slide deck that was presented and the recommendations made in that slide deck with a few little adjustments to expand maybe the scope. So I just don't want, I feel like in being part of this ad hoc, I'm not going to say there's like resistance. It's just that I thought we had already been approved to just prepare a memo to send the deck to the city council. And now I'm feeling like we have to come back in January, 4 months later, to do the same thing that we already agreed to do. So I'm just saying that. I understand with the memo regarding exposure skate, we've not voted to do anything yet. But for the skate bowl, we did.
Yes. So my understanding is that we agreed, as Commissioner Capiello said, we agreed that we would create the memo because we got guidance from Manager Norgard that the slide deck wasn't the right format, that we needed to put it into a memo format. And so we've done that. I didn't get it to Manager Norgard in time for today, but it is written, and from my perspective, it should be, unless there's something in the language that needs to be tweaked, the recommendation is what it is that we already voted on. So it just feels like we keep delaying, and I'm not quite sure why.
I think it comes down to, because we're sending something, this is the way the process normally works. We do the work plan, then we come up with outcome language for that work plan, and then we all vote after we see what that language is to approve the work plan. What's going on right now is we have a general idea as to what we think the memo is going to be, but we haven't seen the actual outcome language. So what I'm proposing is that we actually see the outcome language that would be sent just as if we were sending it on our work plan in March, or we finish it in March, but then the city council sees it in June or whatever. So that's all I'm interested in, is for not just the ad hoc to see that language, but the entire commission to see the language, because when we send it up to the city council, we're approving it as a commission, not as an ad hoc.
I understand that. So, but we're not just so that I'm clear, we voted to recommend that we look for additional skate bowl locations, and there was addition of looking to improve existing skate park facilities. So that memo has been written. If I had gotten it out to to Manager Norgard a few days earlier than I didn't realize that we would hit deadline. We would be reviewing that language today, and we would be reviewing the I's and the T's and the tweaking a word here or there. We would not be relitigating, do we actually believe that we want to do this? Correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay. I just want to be clear on that, because I will say that we've actually put quite a bit of effort into learning what's going on with the various communities, and I think the only reason that we said we wanted to write the memo is because we said we did not want to wait until June for the city to hear about it, because this issue has been around for over a year and a half already. So, Manager Norgard had said I could read the whole memo to you, since I couldn't show it to you, but I think if I read 2 pages of memo to you, you would all, I'd have a slash tire in the parking lot. So I will keep it, I will not do that, and I will move it to January. But as long as we're clear that we're looking at refining language, we're not looking at re-looking at what is our recommendation.
I see lots of shaking of heads yes to that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was on the same page.
Okay.
My question was regarding the second item.
We did.
Where
We
you
added that
the
we needed to
exposure.
look at additional skate park. And
Yeah, but if we're ready to move forward on the other, that's where I was on the skate park item.
Okay. We're running out of time, so we'll look at it in January then. But then I think that means that this will not go to City Council until January at the earliest. We have updates on surf permitting and volleyball, but in the interest of time, I'll stop with that. There's nothing urgent.
Thank you for the report. Manager Nargard, did you want to do a quick park ops report?
We'll skip park ops tonight.
Anything quick on your end, Manager?
I just wanted to share that there's going to be a open house at Pacific View Art Center on December 18th. It's a Thursday, and at the same time, the temporary firehouse #1 will be doing a ribbon cutting at 4 o'clock. So it's kind of a special occasion in December that I'd like to see all of you go, and we'll send you an email too to remind you.
Great. Anyone, we'll do just a quick commission roundtable. We'll start at the very end. If anyone has anything they'd like to report.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Nothing to report.
Nothing additional, just a general question. With the Encinitas Express presentation, that's great information. Is there something that we should think about doing, or is this just still, will this eventually end up on a work plan at some point, maybe, like for next year, or? The view, okay.
That was the ask, I believe.
Okay.
Commissioner Cormorant?
I got nothing.
Thanks. See you all marching on December 6th. Looking forward to hanging out with you all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And I don't have anything either. So it is 7:40 p.m. and I close the meeting. Thank you.